Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are in the world. As it says on the slide there, my name is Clive Bearman, and I am the Director of Marketing for Informatica Cloud. Welcome to the third lesson in the summer school series, actually the third and final lesson in the summer school series. And as the title says there, we are going to look at mobilizing Salesforce processes. I have with me today Dr. Michael Rowley, who's going to actually provide the wonderful demo. So hello, Michael.
Hello.
And I also have Daegan who is going to provide some background on how he uses Informatica and Informatica CloudExtend. Hello, Daegan.
Hello.
So, as we said, this is the last one in the series. Complete all three. So go back and register and watch the other two, and there'll be you'll be able to receive a small treat for completing all three lessons. And while I'm on it, why are there three lessons? Well, we looked at three big challenges with Salesforce throughout this series. The first one was Salesforce becoming a data silo, so how do we overcome that? We looked at that with cloud integration. The second thing we looked at was how the data becomes inconsistent, and we looked at Informatica Cloud MDM to help us out there with data quality and data consistency. And then the last one, which is what we're going to look at today, and I'm really excited about, is how do we stop those users not only corrupting the data, but actually how do we help them become more productive, and more productive not only in the Salesforce UI itself, but also more productive with Salesforce on the go. So that's the goal today, understand how we can use process automation to make all our Salesforce users more productive. Our faculty for today, as I've already said, is myself, Michael, and Daegan. And we'll look at quickly the problem, adding process for productivity. Michael's got some fantastic demos. Daegan's going to talk about process automation in action, your quick Q&A at the end. And I've got some nice homework assignment, actually, for, but I'll get to that. We'll let that take its course when we get there. So how do Salesforce users corrupt data? This is a screen cam from Informatica Salesforce UI, how we use it internally. And not surprisingly, the screens tend to be extremely long. This is an opportunity screen. And of course, with that, in fact, I'm going to do that again, just so we can get over how awkward it can be to navigate and find the information and do the right things at the right time for those users. So, what we see is data entry like that with one long panel is very time-consuming. I'm hunting, I'm pecking. Many of the implicit processes that we have are things that I have to learn and remember. So I'm going to look up a contact, or I'm going to look at a lead, or I'm going to look at an account. Then if I've had a contact or a call with somebody, then I have to remember to send them follow-up emails, or log a call, or update the status of the opportunity or the particular record. And all of those things have to be learned, so I have to train to do that. Often they're very repetitive, and many times redundant. And even though we do our best to train folks, they really, kind of really do their own thing a lot of the time. Probably Michael doesn't use the Salesforce the same way I use it. So, he kind of does his own thing, and I kind of do my thing. And, there's really no sort of best practice for that. And we can overcome those sorts of those by customizing the screens and essentially creating custom applications for Salesforce. But all of those things require either development experience or a consultant with custom coding. So I'd like to call that the hard way. And the easy way for me really is, well, if there's an implicit process, well, why don't we institutionalize that process by having some sort of step-by-step process to guide folks to do specific actions at the right time. We're going to look at how we can use, how we've got CloudExtend, in fact, is an easy-to-use. We're going to follow questions, answers. It's going to do some automated work for me. It's going to work not only on my desktop or my laptop, but it'll work on my iPad and my tablet, my mobile phone too. And the best thing is hand coding, typing in text is really not required. So Informatica CloudExtend, we're going to use a simple approach. Business people design the process, and Michael's going to show, again, a great demo with that. And the end users, whether they're like me, marketing folks or sales folks or call center folks or basically any Salesforce user, just follows what we call a guide. So a bit like a wizard, so but I think much more powerful. With that, I'm actually going to hand it over to Michael, and I'm going to let Michael run the show. So, Michael, over to you.
Right. All right. Thanks, Clive. Excellent. So what you're seeing now is Salesforce, and I'll show you both what the end user sees as well as how we achieve it. So for the end user, there is, in addition to everything you'd normally have on your various screens, any screen that represents a record in Salesforce can also have a guide section that guides the user through doing things that are relevant to this record. In this case, it's an account, but it really could be anything. It could have to do with service cases. It could have to do with things not related to sales at all. Just anything where you're manipulating records in Salesforce are often better to be done with a process, and the process is specified and driven by these guides. And the way that you specify these guides is with a really simple guide designer that's integrated into Salesforce that I'll be able to show you more about how this is done after I've shown you the end result. But you should know, as I'm showing you these guides, that these things are very simple to create. So here's like the first screen of the first guide that I'll show you in preview mode. But let me go to runtime. So the scenario here will be about opportunity creation. So Clive showed you in his slides how there's an opportunity. He had an example of an opportunity screen that just went on and on and on, and you don't really know what to do if you're going to create a new opportunity. So I took that as an incentive to create a new demo, which I actually just created this morning. I got inspired that, hey, let me try something new today. So the first question on an opportunity is, should you be creating an opportunity? And this organization says, in order for it to really be an opportunity, it has to follow these three things. So it has to be funded, it's technical assessment, etc. So is it really ready to be created? All right, let's say it is. Opportunities tend to be around creating some sort of product. So this is showing products that we have in the system. So I'm going to say it's an FDA report is the product being acquired. Now it's saying, okay, let's create the opportunity, and it's defaulting almost everything here. Well, everything here. So it defaulted the name to the pattern that our organization wants, which is kind of account name followed by main product that is being bought. It defaulted the amount to the standard price book amount for that product. It's defaulted the stage to the beginning stage, but says, you might be able to move it depending on the scenario. and it defaulted the close date to be 28 days from today, but I might choose it to be something else. So some of the key fields. Then I'll start walking through other things. Let's say I got this thing from an external referral. If I got it from an external referral, then it asks, a description of who I got it from, John Smith. That'll get put into just a description field. Now, if your org had, here, let me go back. If the org had a referred by that refers to like a contact or a lead, then you'd do it more officially. It might do, this is something that's kind of informal, right? John Smith. So continuing along. Now it's saying, all right, there's going to be people associated with this opportunity that work at this company, DFCU. Here's the list of contacts we have, and this could be multiple pages. Pick all the ones that are involved in this opportunity. Oh, but wait, if there's somebody that we don't know about that should be a contact, just enter them here. So John Doe, president of JDoe at dfcu.com, and I'll leave the phone out. So I'll just hit add a new contact. So this will go off and actually create the contact associated with the account, and now I've got it in my list. I'll say, okay, so I think that these two guys are going to be associated with the account. Continue with selected contact. And this is the role played by John Doe. Let's say he's the business user, and the role played by Max Riley is the decision maker, and he's primary. So walk through each one. And now I've created this, and I can then jump right to it. At any point in time, I can, and then opportunities can have their own guides, etc. Now this, you can see that on the right here, there's this history. I could close it if I wanted to, but to give myself more space. But at any time, I could go back to some earlier state. So, say go back here. What going back does is different from going back in like the browser. What it'll do is it'll undo any creates that were done, or actually any updates at all. So it's as if they didn't happen. This is really important when you are creating things. So you can see that as I went back, my John Doe contact went away. That allows you to go backward and forward without creating duplicates. So the guide definition for that is here. It's in the tab called Guide Designer, and we've got, is your deal ready for the pipeline? If I do something like a simulation, I get walked through something very much like what I walked through at runtime, only this is just at design time, and so you see the little curly braces in various places. The way that this is done is we have this little designer, and the little designer for screen steps, all of these bluish steps are screen steps, just presents a little HTML area where you can do things like drop in pictures. Here, actually, let me create a new window. Because I'd like to go to Informatica, and if I would like to have maybe a different picture, I have this picture on here, but instead of that picture, maybe I would like to use our logo, because I've been told by marketing I really ought to be using this thing more frequently. I'll just drop that guy in there. If, in addition, if I wanted to know to update something at the same time I'm creating an opportunity, maybe I'd like to, double check the account phone number. Because I'm going to be dealing with this account a lot. So dealing with data is really simple. The way you deal with data is you just drop in, you click on this button here. I should have showed it first. Either insert read-only field or insert field for update. This knows it's running on an account. And because it knows it's running on an account, it shows fields that are appropriate to the account. So I can just do that, preview it, say, double check the account phone number, and it'll provide that. The other things that you can do are, in addition to these screen steps, are what we call automated steps. These are things that do something automatically. They work with Salesforce or potentially even other systems, or integrate with LinkedIn or other things through Informatica. This one is just saying, okay, you've selected the product, go get the price book entry for it, so that when we create the new opportunity, we can get that. Creating the new opportunity is an automated steps, and I can just show you some of our automated steps. A lot of the things you do in automated steps are these creation, and you can create any kind of record. I was mentioning this is not just about opportunities. It could be about cases or anything else, campaigns, marketing things. And then and it also isn't just creation. You could do other work as well. The way you specify the data for it is for each of these things, you can get the data from either a constant, which means I know what the value should be now, or from a field, which means it's coming from something that I've got laying around in my data, or it comes from screen. If I say it comes from the screen, it means the user should be providing this data. And here's where we specified things like the name and amount stage. The name was defaulted to using to being put together with the account name and the product name, so we could just drop those things in. And similarly, the amount was defaulted to saying this comes from a field, and the field is the price book entry list price, which it gave as a drop-down. Let me just show you that. Wherever you use fields, you can use fields that are indirect. So these fields here are all of the ones that are amounts that are currency type, or actually currencies or numbers. But I didn't want one of those. I wanted something that is indirect through the price book entry, so I could drill through that and get the list price, and that's how I specified that. So this is starting to give you maybe a little bit of a sense. So I showed automated steps and screen steps. There's also data decisions, which says based on some data, like has the lead source been filled in, right? If it has been filled in, actually in this case, is the lead source an external referral? Only if the lead source is an external referral, then we do this step where we say, please enter information about the person who referred us. I'll show just a little bit more. Here's that step that shows all of the existing contacts and also allows you to create new contacts on that same screen. Showing all the existing contacts was done very simply. You just drop in the contact. You say, I'd like to show a list of child objects. So when you're showing a list of child objects, then you just pick the relationship, and it's the contacts relationship, and then you say what fields you'd like to show in the table, the full name and the title. And in this case, I decided not to allow column filtering and user sorting, just to make it more narrow. But if I allow those things and I apply, then I'll get a search dialog box here, and these little arrows for allowing the user to reorder things. A couple other things. This guide is shown as a tree. This is really important, especially when you have large guides. I just can show you a guide I've got laying around here. Large guides kind of collapse and expand as you work your way through them. And this ability to deal with these large guides very simply by navigating around really is important for the kinds of processes that you do when you're walking a person through what they should be doing. So let me run back here. But it's shown as a tree, which you could see as I worked my way around. If you want to go outside of that tree metaphor, you can still do that with what's called a jump step. And the jump step, you can still kind of navigate back and forth. You can jump from the source of the jump to the target, or back from the target of a jump back to the source, one of the sources. So I could go back to there. So those are the various step types. Now, and that's the designer. Now let me show you the subtitle of this talk had been Working from the Beach, I believe. So let's see what it would be like to do something from the beach. And in this case, I'll switch the scenario slightly. Instead of creating an opportunity, I'll look at following up from a meeting that I just had. And after I finished my meeting, I went to the beach. And I'd like to kind of update what happened without having to go pull out a laptop. So I'm going to share my phone's screen. So I've got an iPhone here, although this thing can work with with Android or iPhone. So you can see I've just turned on mirroring, so I'm using AirPlay to show this on my screen. There's this CloudExtend app that shows all of the guides that have been published and are designed to be used for mobile. This one is about post-meeting. The post-meeting guide was designed to say, okay, show me my meetings from today and allow the user to follow up on them. So there was only one meeting from today, and that was a demo to a guy named Max. So I'll go to that, and I see, you had a meeting scheduled with Max from DFCU. Did the meeting happen? Because if it didn't, I can reschedule, but I'll say, yeah, that did happen. What's Max's role in the opportunity? Let's say I discovered that he's actually the decision maker, the key guy, so I can change that. By the way, while I'm working my way through any of these guides, the changes are happening immediately. They don't happen only at the end. They happen all along the way. It can also do things in the background without actually requiring you to touch it. Like in this case, it's sending email. I can record notes using voice. Max really liked the product, period. He would like to set up a demo for his colleagues and also set up a trial, period. Something like that. Did you advance it? Sure, I advanced the opportunity. It's now into perception analysis. I don't know, something above and beyond where it was before. And I can say he help with the evaluation, might be, or the trial, I could have said. Pick a time for the follow-up. Maybe there's a follow-up next Monday. And here are the existing contacts. Did I identify new contacts while I was at the account? In this case, there's less space, so rather than adding the new contact here, if I said yes, I'd go to the next screen and say, okay, here's the name and description, etc. And also in the mobile, I can also use this ability to go back in history. Say, oh, here's all the previous steps I went to. I can pick any previous one, confirm that it will undo the work if I do that, and then go back. So here we go. So if I say no to that, and I can continue working my way through maybe new, possible new opportunities, etc. Let me stop sharing my phone. And I'll go to the guide that was for this. So here I had this, did the meeting happen, validating the role in the opportunity. When it's a guide that's designed for mobile, which you specify over here, you say, what should this run on? Should it run on desktops or tablets or on smartphones? If it's going to run on smartphones, you design it a little bit differently. So you can see, as I simulate it, I get the phone UI, and I can see what it's going to look like from the phone, so that I can design the screens appropriately. So, and similarly, I can make a change by say, let's see, also check the maybe the amount, stick in the amount, and the close date. I often like to do that. So now, now when the user gets here, they will check the amount and close date. And all you have to do to make this go live is save, hit publish, and it's live. The users use it. So that's a little bit of a tour of how easy it is to work with, to create these things, to create processes that users use to work through their work with their records in Salesforce much more simply and more consistently than they would do with just meandering about Salesforce itself. So, and at this point, I guess I'll hand it back to Clive.
Yes, thanks, Michael. That was really great. So you showed the end result, the wizards in Salesforce. You showed how to build them. Then you also showed how easy it was to get those things popping up on your phone to do specific pieces of work, while you're out and about. So that was really nice demo, and thanks very much. I'm actually
You're welcome.
Now going to just give a data point on how much this process approach can help in your Salesforce environment. So, we're talking about at Plymouth Rock Energy there, a 20% increase in agent productivity. So that's a call center agent when they go to create, in their instance, utility accounts and all the associated Salesforce objects that go along with that customer account. And the time there, it's reduced the time by 85% to create those new accounts. So it really does work. So actually, I think now's a good time to go to somebody who's actually using it in their business. And I think at this point, I'm just going to hand it over to Daegan to tell us exactly tell us who he is, what INSynergy does, and how they use CloudExtend.
Okay, thank you, Clive. Thank you, Michael. If you, just to go back for a quick second to what Clive was just talking about, we have processes that don't go up by 85%, but go up by several hundred or almost thousands of percentage points because it is so much more efficient to do it in this process versus the typical way things are done in the insurance industry. So let me step real quick and give you some background on INSynergy. We're an insurance services organization that was created for the purpose of making insurance agencies and carriers more efficient and effective. And we do that primarily by attacking a single problem, and that is that the insurance transaction itself is a data-intense, inherently collaborative process that has absolutely no integration among the members of the transaction. And with each one of those members creating systems and solutions to meet only their needs, they actually end up making more redundancy, more complexity, and adding more cost to the transaction. So for us, the question was, how do we influence change so we can introduce a greater degree of collaboration, eliminate this redundancy, and get the industry in synergy? And I think there was pun intended on that. For us, the important thing was to create an intelligently integrated transaction platform where the data can live one life, and each member of the transaction can plug into a single truth or a single stream of information and add and remove value without any duplication of effort. And this is made possible by cloud computing and the Force.com platform, but it is made much more effective and much more efficient through the use of Informatica Cloud Services and CloudExtend. So let me just give you an overview of the process in general. We start with Informatica Cloud Services, where we create a bidirectional integration with the agency database. After we pull that data in, and this is all their entire database, we pull it in, we standardize it, we cleanse it and enrich it, and we segment it so we can get better analytics around this information. And then we use that data to leverage in the marketplace and create better product, better programs for insurance agencies. That product is then, we collaborate with the carriers and connect the agencies to the carriers across this transaction platform and make a much more efficient process of bringing the data from the source to the market efficiently and at a much lower cost of transaction. So this is where CloudExtend comes in for us, and I think it's if we look at how we do our business and the multiple different objects we would need within Salesforce, this vastly improves the efficiency of any process. In fact, none of the processes that we have within our product run outside of, we call them wizards, because we're able to know what our people are doing. We're able to know where they are in the process. It allows us to apply digital discipline through the use of drop-downs and mandatory fields and actually calculating fields for the agents. And making sure that they answer all the right questions. If you're looking at a particular risk, and I think it was we talked about institutionalizing, I think Clive mentioned institutionalizing intelligence. Well, in the insurance industry, there are certain questions that need to be asked based on the class of business that's being insured, and oftentimes an insurance agent themselves might not know every one of those questions. Well, we're able to put a phone or an iPad in their hands out in front of their customer, and they can walk through these wizards, and if it's let's just say it's a garage or let's say it's an auto dealership, and they have towing. Let's say it's a garage and they have towing. We can go up and ask them the questions on towing, but if they don't have the towing exposure, we don't have to ask those questions. And I think the other parts of this that we don't really, that I think Michael showed, but really didn't get into detail on, is the automation of the process. When you know where you are and what you're doing, you can automate tasks that would typically take time. And we looked at the agency's process, and we realized that there was typically a 300% what we call tax on efficiencies and administrative overhead. So when the agency did something, they had to go somewhere else and document that they did that thing, or they had to go to 3 to 5 different screens to go in and enter that information and add the new data that was required. when you're walking through a CloudExtend wizard, you can enter all that information in one logical screen, and then, you know, transparent to the individual who's walking through it. It means they don't see it. You can go ahead and create new objects, update fields in related objects, and automate processes that now the person doesn't have to use. So for us, it allows us to make sure that every submission is complete, which allows us to automate other processes and automate the process of rate, quote, bind, and issue, which would literally take, you know, several days to several weeks to get accomplished, and we can do it immediately, thanks to this process. And, you know, I think that's really how we use it. We use it to make sure that all of our processes are efficient, that all our people ask all the right questions at the right time, and that we can automate things that don't require their experience or expertise. And I think that's for us, at the end of the day, three things are most important. We get to institutionalize our intelligence, which means we get to build it right into the guides. A. B, we get to apply digital discipline, which is really important because it helps us automate other processes. And the third thing is that we get to automate processes and vastly reduce the workload that the user has. And at the end of the day, it drives user adoption with Salesforce through the roof, because it is no longer going to 5 different places to add information. You just do it in process and focus on the task at hand. And I think that's primarily how we use it. And at the end of the day, we integrate on both ends using Informatica Cloud Services.
Fantastic.
Did I do that a little too fast?
No, that was absolutely perfect. In fact, there were a few things that that you mentioned that made my ears prick up. Well, one thing, so you said all of your agents now do everything through these wizards. They don't use sort of vanilla Salesforce at all.
Yes. Well, it's part of our business model, and it's also part of just being more efficient and effective. We sit as an intermediary between the agency and the carrier, and so what we can't do is allow for data, certain types of data, to be amended. So we control the process a little bit with the wizards. Most importantly is that when we run something through a wizard, we're able to automate the process and drive up user adoption. People don't want to think about how to use their software. They just want to use it. And I think CloudExtend allows them to just get in and do their job. You know, at the end of the day, they're more worried about selling insurance than they are about documenting the account or making sure that everything is done right. But for a business to operate efficiently and effectively, those metrics need to be gathered and analyzed and stored somewhere. So I think CloudExtend allows you to do both of those things very well.
Great, great. And your insurance platform has always been on Salesforce, or was it on something first and then you transferred to Salesforce? So how did that evolve?
Yeah, well, we were trying, we were looking at building it, and it would have cost us, probably $20 million to build the security infrastructure and the scale that we needed. And so Salesforce was extremely interesting to us. But it wasn't until the combination of Salesforce and Informatica Cloud where we were able to actually fully act upon what we wanted to build. And once we could integrate with the agency management systems on the front end and integrate on the back end with the carriers, we're able to create that transaction platform that I spoke of. Now, that was great, but it went to a whole new level when we got our arms around CloudExtend and realized that we could I guess, simplify and at the same time modernize the approach of moving from the beginning process until the end. So I think CloudExtend ties it together very well for all of us.
Right. And I'm going to do things a lawyer should never do, which is ask a question they don't know the answer to. But how long? But I'm going to ask anyway. How long did it take to say create your first guide? Well, from like not knowing, the guide designer and stuff like that.
Right. Well, I mean, I created my first guide in really about 25 minutes from, getting the software and getting running. You get up and add it very quickly. But I would like to, let everybody know that I think that the strength of CloudExtend isn't in its ease of use, although it is extremely easy to use. It is in its robustness, because the number of things you can do with this tool it's almost unlimited. One of the things we didn't show you that Michael Rowley had helped us with was we gather information in a process, and then in an automated step, we integrate with a third-party service to pull back specific underwriting data like flood zones, et cetera. And we can now use those within the process, and nobody had to go to a separate set of software to pull that. Nobody had to, take, time and order something and pay for it separately. We're able to integrate directly and speed up that process significantly. So I guess I just use that as an example of there is so much you can do with this. You can query and pull data and update fields in multiple related tables at the same time. And so I would suggest that, yes, you can get up and running quickly, and it is effective. But there is another level here, and I suggest that anybody who gets this, get it for the next level, because its scalability is off the charts. And it is the robustness of the product that makes it most valuable to us.
Fantastic. That was a better answer than I hoped for. Thanks very much. I think to move things on, we'll open it up for question and answers. So, Daegan, thanks so much. That was a great example of not just CloudExtend, but how you're using Informatica in conjunction with Salesforce to really run your business. So. So to my guests now, if you have questions for either Daegan or for Michael or even for myself, then please plug them into the Q&A box, and we will ask them accordingly. So the first question, actually, Daegan, is did you look at other tools before deciding on CloudExtend?
Yes, I did. In fact, I looked very closely at, I don't know if this is, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I looked very closely at the Force.com tool. I was married to the Force.com platform because I'm very pleased with the way it is built. It's built open. It's built for integration capabilities, and so I wanted to. So I was going to stay with Force.com. And I was looking at I can't remember the name exactly, and I guess that's good. CloudExtend got me to the point where I can't even remember the name, but they have a product that allows you to build wizards. Because for us, it was about controlling process, and so these wizards were something that we wanted to do before we knew about CloudExtend. So we looked very closely at that, and then we. Quite frankly, I saw a webinar with Clive, and I said, there's something about it that intrigued me, and I wanted to look deeper. Now, for us, it's a much deeper implementation than I think for most, but once I got in and found out how deep it would go and how much it could do, I was very, very impressed. And so I abandoned the Force.com tool and went straight to Informatica Cloud.
Great, thanks. Another question I have here, actually I'll address this to Michael. Do I have to use screens at all, or is there, let me see, how does this question go?
Right. So headless is what some people refer to this as, if I'm guessing the question right. mostly the way I presented it was walking a person through a set of capabilities and then mentioned that, oh, and there can be some stuff that's done automatically. And then Daegan went on to say, oh, yeah, and the stuff that can be done automatically is really valuable. You can automate a whole bunch of the process. Well, there's actually you can, in some cases, automate everything and have guides or wizards that are purely automated steps, and those can then run headless, where headless means that you would set up a Salesforce trigger, or what they call workflow rule, but I kind of like to think of them as triggers, that automatically kick off a guide in CloudExtend that does a bunch of work and in a purely automated way.
And actually, when you said that, you answered another question, which was, will it work with Salesforce workflow? So obviously, the answer there is yes.
Right.
Well, another question, and I know Daegan alluded to it as well. One of the questions is, can CloudExtend work with the other products? In fact, actually, I'm going to mention the other two products that we mentioned in the summer school series, right? So, can it work with CloudMDM, and can it work with, or even how does it work with Informatica Cloud integration? So address that to Michael.
Yes. So with for data integration, I'll start with data integration. We can kick off Informatica Cloud data integration tasks. So you define tasks, and one of the automated steps that's available in CloudExtend is to start one of those. So a scenario where this might happen is you are creating data in Salesforce, but that data really belongs elsewhere. It either needs to be replicated elsewhere, or what's in Salesforce is not where it belongs. It really belongs somewhere else, so it's really only temporary in Salesforce, in which case you still can create the data in Salesforce and then kick off a data integration task to move it to some other system. Daegan also mentioned that CloudExtend can, in real time, go off and get data from external systems without, and in that case, it's not specifically using the data integration product, but it is doing that integration work. And then the other one was CloudMDM. CloudMDM works. It basically we didn't really have to do anything because CloudMDM is a pure force.com tool, and it does everything through records in Salesforce. It searches for potential duplicates, stores potential duplicates, relationships between objects that might be duplicates are represented as relationships in force.com. So it's really easy to create wizards guides that walk you through potential duplicates that have been identified in CloudMDM and determine which of them should be the master, what should be moved into what as you resolve these duplicates or merge the duplicates. It's also got a concept of fuzzy match in CloudMDM where you can specify a bunch of fields and it will find other records that don't match exactly but match mostly by some thresholds you set up. And those can be used right inside of guides. So you can have a guide that calls the fuzzy match capability to show you what potential matches there are.
Great. And you mentioned, I think you mentioned force.com. So it says, is this a force.com application?
CloudExtend it has a relatively thin layer that is force.com. It has an integration. You saw it in the demo that we work very well with the Salesforce data, all kinds of Salesforce data, so it can work with any force.com app, but it does run on external servers. It runs on external servers and is is authenticated with with Salesforce. It's a multi-tenanted capability that is built on top of a business process engine that Informatica acquired from a company called Active Endpoints, and it is really an enterprise-level process engine that has really been hardened over the course of 10 years and scalable and persistent and a lot of other good abilities. So that is the guts of that run externally. The data, though, is stored in Salesforce. That's what people want, where the people want their data is to be in Salesforce. So it just manipulates the data and deals with the kind of essentially the process aspects of it rather than data storage aspects of it.
Smashing. So I'm going to make a last call for questions. I see we have one more question here, so just going to last call for questions. So how do you design an integration from the cloud to connect to an on-premise app?
The best way to do that right now, we've got plans for the future, but I'll stick with what's possible now, which is cloud integration. The data integration with Informatica Cloud allows you to connect to on-premise apps and get data out or get data in either direction, and it's a very simple wizard-based approach of mapping the data that's available on-premise to data that you want some representation in a Force.com app like Salesforce, and then that can be used by CloudExtend. You can either have there's actually two ways. You can have the data proactively pushed into Salesforce, and then in reaction to data being pushed into Salesforce from the on-premise app, you can run a guide. This is that headless scenario that I talked about that maybe does some further manipulation or automated processing of it. Or you can have a guide that at some point in the guide says, okay, run this data integration task.
Great, great. Actually, the very last question is, are the slides available for download? Yeah, everybody will get links afterwards to the presentation and to the recording as well. So that'll all come. Don't worry. So homework assignment. Actually, it's not really homework. It's more of we've got a great offer here that there's a CloudExtend free CloudExtend training class, so you can register for the one-day training class. It's over the web. It's instructor led. So and right now it's perfectly free. So if you want to go there and sign up for the one-day training class, I think it's going to be run 8/28. So I think August 28th is the day that's going to run. So I'd say if you want to try CloudExtend, then I think that's probably a great way to start. If you want to hear more about how folks use it, then check out our App Exchange reviews. They're really great. Get social. So the hashtag or the handle is at CloudExtend for on Twitter. And always, if you have any more questions or want to find out more or even try CloudExtend, then please don't be afraid to contact us. With that, I only have really one thing to say, which is to thank both Daegan. Thanks for your time today. It was really, really great. Thank you, Michael, for a great demonstration. And thanks, everybody, for spending an hour or so with us today for our CloudExtend webinar.